Well, this is kind of the stretch right here of practice 7, 8 that I know is kind of the dog days, and I don't mean that in the sense like there are only 15 practices in the spring. Some of us had to practice for like 28 spring practices, but I think just the nature of what it is. I mean, we set a standard of 15 practices. That 7 and 8 become that kind of middle run where we talk about all the time the middle 8 in the game. So we really got to push through these things. You start to get guys that are dinged up, the numbers start to go down, and that means that there's pressure on other guys to be able to step up, take extra reps. And so I thought they fought through it today. There's some young guys that are going to get a lot of opportunities that they don't always get, and so we're going to have to see some guys with some growth. I think it's really, really, really important to us. But I think what we did see is I think the quarterbacks in a 2-minute situation today for the first time, you really start to see a leadership quality that just is natural, but is all of a sudden starting to be shown a little bit more in some of these true play it situations that I'm excited about.
Look, we've seen Dylan Jones get quite a bit of run with that first offense. What has he shown you throughout maybe the end of last season to the offseason to now that gives you confidence in what he's doing?
Well, I think he's the kind of the core of the culture, the effort and the attitude. Everything he does with intensity. He does with a speed. Whether he has the ball in his hand, whether he doesn't have the ball in his hand, whether it's a shift, whether it's a motion, it's just, he has really done a great job at just that, kind of embodying what the culture looks like. And we don't get a lot of opportunities for these guys to go live. So if there's one of those positions that's kind of difficult to find out what they really are and what they really have is at the tailback position. And I truly believe if we do and when we have a chance to go live, you'll even see him have a greater opportunity to kind of show what it is that he's done and what he can do.
How have you seen Billy develop as a leader?
Well, I mean, when he walked in the door, he was a leader, and he understands what the position takes, and he's been there. He's kind of seen it at a high level as a young guy, as a backup. Been there, done that for 2 years. But it's still different. I think him coming in here and making sure first and foremost he sets an example for how he does things, and then he starts to become more and more vocal. He's built great relationships throughout the locker room, and I think now we're starting to really see that come out as we get into that practice 7 and 8, and somebody has to step up and take a different leadership role, and sometimes that's the uncomfortable leadership role, but I think that's what we're starting to see from him.
Jaden Bal has been a guy. He's made his share of plays out there, and he looks like he brings maybe a speed element.
Jaden's done a good job, and I think Jaden, obviously the transition of recognizing what it is, what the expectations are like. Everybody's got a little bit of different expectation wherever you are, and I think for him, recognizing some of that, you see some plays being made, but I think the little things that are giving him an opportunity to get more and more run at it, that I don't know that everybody talks about the ability to be able to block, the ability to get back down inside. And I think in the last couple of practices, what we've seen is a confidence level start to grow, and I'm seeing some contested catches, which is what makes me excited. And I'm not saying anybody can make the catch down the sideline where you outrun somebody, because some of us can't do that. But those aren't the ones that, to me, kind of, really kind of start to show your mark. In the last couple of days, he's seen some things that, contested catches, some physicality that you have to have in what we're asking to do, and I just see a growth that starts with, I think, confidence.
Carlos Perkins seems like a guy that kind of fits exactly what you guys wanted from that interior spot. How has he done in terms of just adjusting to this culture and this defense in this transfer?
Perk's got a great attitude. I think we saw that when he came in here for a short stint visit for 24 hours. Just his humility, his not just his love for the game, but his true wanting to be a part of something bigger than himself. That was pretty evident in the short amount of time that he was here in a visit. And since he's been here, I think that there's just one of those guys that just, he's appreciative to everything that we're doing. When we push him hard, he's appreciative. When they provide things for him, he's appreciative. I mean, more and more guys around us got to recognize that, and then that starts to show on the football field. He's continuing to grow. He's getting himself into a better shape where he can play a little bit longer, and especially at the size that he is now. But we're still trying to figure out. For him, he's still trying to figure out what's the best size and things for him, because there's an expectation to be able to play, not just 3, 4, 5, 6 snaps. He's a guy that's got to be able to help us with a lot of snaps this year.
How valuable is spring football? I know fewer teams are doing spring games. There's been some talk about going to NFL model, OTAs, whatever. For you, what do you think about spring football?
I'm kind of envisioning spring football is even more critical and important than fall camp. And I mean that in a sense that you can push guys. I mean, we got to find out who we are. We've got to show and create and make sure we understand what the physicality looks like. I kind of envision that maybe fall camp might be the bigger adjustment for us. This is something that is so valuable and critical to the growth of what it is that we're doing. And that's why I said that. Practices 7 and 8, sometimes you kind of have a tendency to, well, let's kind of back off in that middle so that we can finish strong. When I kind of reminded these guys, like, this is the opportunities for us to continue to push. This is the opportunities for us to continue to understand what it's going to take to climb the mountain we got in front of us. And I really believe that as we get, through these 15 practices and get to the place where we want to be, I think fall camp may be a little bit different, just in the sense that hopefully you got a really good idea of what the core nucleus of your program looks like for that team, for that season, and then how do you polish them up to get ready to win some football games.
Coach, the safety room, it's got a lot of new talent as well as some returners. It seems like they're making a lot of plays. What have you kind of seen from both the returners and some of those new talent?
I think that right now in that room in particular, you've got the competitiveness that we need, right? It's not just solidified that, Preston and AB are your two safeties. I think by bringing some of those other guys in that are really competitive guys that are showing that they can play the game at this level and can make plays at this level, I think it's applying pressure to everybody in that room, even if the young guys, that start to recognize what it looks like on a daily basis. Then, you could take a guy like Preston Zachman and say that he's been here for 4 or 5 years. How many reps does he need in spring? But he understands what it is we're trying to do. He understands what the competitive nature looks like. And I think it's just raising the level in that room that I think is going to be a really good thing for us.
Yeah, he's, last couple of practices, he's gotten his hand on some balls, made some turnovers. Obviously, last spring he was out.
Yes.
Just what's kind of maybe the benefit of him just getting this work at this time of year?
I'll be honest, this is a different Rico than I've seen, and I just mean that in a lot of different ways. Rico is bigger, Rico is stronger, Rico is faster. I know last year was tough because he had to miss all the offseason with the shoulder surgery, but I think even more than anything, I think Rico's got a little bit different mindset and attitude, and it has been noticeable, to be honest with you, throughout the first 7-8 practices and really through the winter. And I'm really excited about what Rico's done, and I mean that not that he hasn't been a great player, and he was an All-American a couple years ago, and maybe last year he didn't have quite the year that in the production that he wanted. But I think more than anything, he's starting to become a leader and an example, and it's the hard work is paying off, and I mean that through the off season and some of the different things maybe he's dedicated himself to doing and continue to develop his body. He's done a heck of a job.
Johnson, he's a guy who has gotten a lot of opportunity. What are you looking to see from him this week?
Well, I think both him and Tyrell Henry. I think that both those guys have been, kind of got more opportunities in the slot. All those guys, I think that everybody's kind of recognizing that being one-dimensional is not going to do it for you. And I mean that at any position, but in particular, maybe a little bit more the wide receiver position. The ability to be able to do everything in all things is really important. It's not just catching balls. It's not just clearing lanes. It's not just understanding what you're doing. I mean, there's a mindset that you have to have on every single play, regardless of what it is. I mean, the ball's going to be in those guys' hands, and whether it's being thrown to them, whether it's opportunities maybe for them to be handed to them. Right now, everybody's getting an opportunity. But as you get through the spring ball and you get towards the fall, then you start to recognize, like, look, there's only so many opportunities to get the ball in guys' hands, and who has earned those chances and who has earned those rights. And I think that's what we're continuing to give those guys those chances and those opportunities to do, and I think it's going to pay off in the long run for all of them.
Christian has consistently been one of the best defenders on the field right now. What have you seen from him this spring as he sort of approaches that upperclassman leadership role?
Well, it's being vocal. I think the most important aspect of a guy, interior linebacker, Mike or Will, it doesn't matter. Those guys inside the middle have got to run everything. And, where he started to really play late in the year last year, significant amount. I mean, obviously he played, but the last 4 games or last 3 games, I think he started and played next to every snap. And his ability to take the next step and kind of run the show out there is really important. And some don't recognize that. I mean, it's either the Mike or the Will, but the guy in the middle has got to be vocal, has got to, kind of impose some leadership and take those reins, because that's not the easiest thing. It sounds like it's just a natural thing, and the guy that can play can do that, but it takes a lot more energy. It takes a lot more, effort and things like that to truly lead in between plays during the plays. Off the field is one thing. That's not nearly as difficult. The difficult thing, especially for guys that haven't played a ton of ball, is really to show the confidence that you have and be able to lead. And I think that's what we've challenged him with this spring, and we've seen a growth. And he's going to have to continue to grow even more because there's a really high expectation for all the things that he can do for us.
The draft is in a couple of weeks, and this program's got a long storied history of getting guys into the league. It's been a little while for a first rounder. Does that matter much, or is it do you think
Yeah.
more as a program?
No, I mean that's it's what you sell when you walk in the doors here, right? I mean, like they've seen it in front of them, they've seen it happen in the past, and that's what our job is to do, is to develop guys. Not everybody's going to have that opportunity. We understand that, okay? But who's to say that they don't? I mean, obviously, we've got two great examples of somebody that would say they were never going to be a first-round draft pick in the Watts, right? And then all of a sudden become first-round draft pick. So there isn't just this magic. You got to have this height, you got to have this weight. So it's a development piece. And so to me, if guys aren't coming here and have that goal and dream and belief, then they're going to be in the wrong program. So, we've got to continue to develop to be able to give those guys opportunities and understand if it doesn't happen, there's still many more ways and many opportunities to make that in the NFL. And that's what, I think that's what we're trying to prepare these guys for more than anything. Good.
A couple of guys I haven't seen the last few weeks, Derek Jensen and Tanner Koziel. Can you give some updates on them?
Tanner is dinged up and is going through a few things right now, so I don't know what's exactly going on. And Jensen hasn't been out here all spring. So, good. Thank you.